Hello everybody, it's Infinity Break coming at you today with another little bit of a, I guess you could say, a discussion video. Today, I'm supposed to be doing a theory video, but I don't have any theories. There is one that was given to me earlier this week, but I decided since I didn't really have a theory to talk about, that I'd do something more of a lore speculation discussion about something that I feel a lot of Elder Scrolls fans were very curious about, but never really got that much of an answer for. And that has to do with whatever happened to the levitation magic from Elder Scrolls 3 and beforehand. For those of you who don't know and are newer, there used to be a levitation spell that you used to be able to cast. I don't remember which skill tree it was under. I think it was something along alteration or mysticism. But you used to be able to cast this, and it used to allow you to levitate. It was actually kind of cool and useful back in Arena and Daggerfall, and even was kind of useful back in Morrowind. The problem was that after the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, the levitation magic disappeared from the usable spells that you used to be able to pick up from most mages guilds or other places that you would buy them from. This act was kind of weird, as most fans actually liked the levitation magic, and being able to use it in most dungeons and other situations was actually kind of fun. It actually required a certain amount of skill to cast certain levels of levitation spells, and it made it really nice, and actually made it feel like your character actually grew when you were able to cast them. Most of the time, levitation magic was a real sign of you being a higher level and really earning that spell, because it was actually a very demanding spell, if I'm not mistaken. There used to be scrolls and stuff too that would allow you to levitate, and there were a bunch of other things that you could get it from, just regular spells and other such things, and even sometimes you could even enchant your items to allow you to do it. But after the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, we never saw the levitation spells or enchantments or scrolls ever again. So what exactly happened to the levitation magic? Well, I like to introduce you to the thing that is never really discussed in the Elder Scrolls lore, called the Levitation Act. The Levitation Act is an act that was passed sometime during the Third Era. If I'm not mistaken, it was in the Third Era during the year 421, and it banned the use of levitation magic. The only place in which it is actually mentioned is in Oblivion. It's never mentioned in Skyrim, and it's not mentioned in any text. It's only mentioned by passerbys in certain conversations. See, there used to be teachers at the Arcane University and such, and other members of the Mages Guild that would actually teach the use of levitation magic. And one of the conversations that can still be heard is, he's getting older, but he can still teach you a little bit about alteration. He's been teaching it since before the Levitation Act of 1421. The other conversation you can hear is, he still teaches, though he lost his passion for it after the Levitation Act was passed. Can't say I blame him. The Levitation Act is just a simple act that banned the use of levitation magic. But why exactly was this passed? Now, obviously for Bethesda's purposes, is because they didn't want to put levitation magic back in their game. For what reason, we don't know. I would assume it was to make the dungeon designs a lot more easier to make, especially considering that a majority of the level design within Oblivion was actually one level designed. You know, just the concept of there being one floor and that was it. There weren't a lot of dungeons, there weren't a lot of cities, there weren't a lot of areas that required you to actually get to a second floor, that were very tall, that were very big, that, you know, just required you to use levitation magic. In fact, if anything, you can go through the entire game without thinking, oh man, I wish I had levitation, because the game wasn't designed with that spell in mind. And maybe that was why they removed it. I feel like in Skyrim, there were certain places where levitation magic could actually be useful. But in Oblivion, I definitely see why Bethesda removed it, as there really isn't a need for the levitation spell. Though it is kind of stupid, because I really would have liked to see a levitation spell be useful in about a good handful of dungeons so that you could still implement it. But specifically designing a couple dungeons around the levitation spell would mean that that spell is way more important than majority of other spells you would be using. This kind of like, the reason that the levitation spell was removed was mostly due to the fact it wasn't needed, and it made it way too easy to get around certain places, and even though it required a certain amount of skill to unlock, it was still one of those things where this spell is more valuable because it was a mode of transportation half the time. But the reason I dislike the fact that Bethesda removed it is because it removes one more thing from the Elder Scrolls formula that makes it more unique. Not many other games allowed you to levitate, to move around through the air freely. I actually disliked Bethesda when they did this again in Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, when they removed the lockpicking spells, or the unlocking spells. I really liked the unlocking spells from Oblivion. You used to be able to just cast a spell, and it would unlock any chest of that level if you had the required skill to cast that spell. It was a nice way that you didn't have to do the lockpicking, and it made you feel like much more of an actual mage. So now that we know why they were removed gameplay-wise, why exactly were the levitation spells removed in lore-wise? See, why exactly was the Levitation Act put in place? The Levitation Act was most likely put in place to protect mages. Imagine this, a mage that is brand new to the college, brand new to the Arcane University, brand new to the Mages Guild, manages to get their hands on a levitation scroll, or manages to just learn how to cast a levitation spell. There's most likely a situation where a mage of some sort that wasn't exactly clean was trying to sell levitation spells through the use of scrolls that any mage could actually use. These scrolls would actually pose a huge threat to most of the people in the area, as well as the mage, as the mage would probably cast them, get really excited, fly up as high as they can, and then the levitation spell would just shut off. Without a second levitation scroll or any sort of situation where you're not high enough to actually cast another scroll, you could plummet to your death, injuring or killing yourself and anybody else that could be in your path of falling. If anybody is below you, any buildings, any creatures, any people, they can get injured when a man, mer, or beast folk just falls out of the sky at high velocity onto that person. This could cause serious situations where people could get injured, hurt, other such unrest in the villages or any sort of towns that they're being casted in, and this would actually be brought to the Mages Guild or any sort of other magic association through the Imperial Crown itself. As most unrest would probably be caused by a lot of these situations, they would need to pass a law that would prevent this from happening again. This is why the Levitation Act was put in place, to prevent these situations from occurring in the first place. This makes sense. I could see why in-game reasons there would actually be a law to prevent levitation spells from being widely used. I at most would probably assume that the spell itself shouldn't be, outlawed. I would have said any sort of easily accessible magic, such as scrolls, would have to be banned. But for the most part, I could understand why someone would outlaw this. So that's most likely the reason as to why the levitation spells were outlawed through the Levitation Act. So yes, hopefully this answered all of your questions as to why the levitation spell disappeared after Morrowind. The Levitation Act was put in place to be plain and simple, and Bethesda didn't want to integrate levitation spells into their level design anymore. This kind of concludes today's video. I'm sorry it wasn't a theory video, but if you guys have any theories or such that you want me to talk about in the future, I'll be happy to make a video on them. If you want me to cover any topics like this in the future, let me know. Most likely the case, Sunday will be my discussion video / theory video day. And in the future, I will try to discuss interesting topics that you might find interesting. So yes, if you guys have any more, videos that you want to request from me, let me know down in the comment section or by hitting me up through my email, my Discord, or through my Twitter. If you guys have any questions, again, like I said, leave them down in the comment section. I'm going to let this video go. Thank you all for watching so much. This has been Infinity Break, reminding you all to say it with me now. Play well, eat well, and of course live well, friends. I hope you guys go out there and strive to break infinity, and hope you guys have a nice day, night, evening, wherever and whenever you're at. Take it easy, guys.